The other thing I have that as a problem with the way that this split went is I actually also hate it, believe it or not, to have the same narrative week after week after week after week when it doesn't update much. Like, I know it gets boring if someone's heard the same rants over and over again, but the point is, like, you either want it to be, it's the same narrative. So, like, a classic narrative, so, you know, G2 fighting from being behind in gold in season 9 or whatever. The difference to that one is there's so much you can go with that. You know, you can pick so many abstract things. You can go off. The problem is the Koi narrative is the same at the end as it was at the beginning, Dom, which is like, it all comes back, I'm sorry, to the Szygenda angle, doesn't it? Because whenever you watch Koi play, you always think, I'm sure you think the same thing I do. You watch it and you just go like, bro, if that was Odoamne, now wouldn't they just like win this fight? Or would, you know, didn't they just need a tiny 1%? Because the joke of how they've actually played in Koi is, it's like they themselves figured out after that first like round robin phase, yeah, this just doesn't work with him being like the carry, and then themselves just consigned him to being a bad tank anyway, or bruiser, right? It's like, yeah, no, it seems like they band-aided him themselves. I mean, it worked, but they band-aided him, didn't they?
Yeah, they did 100%. So I'm somebody who's always like really pro like band-aid solutions. Like I've always been on the side of like, look, no, every team is going to be flawed, no matter the best team that you find. Like if you look at world champions across like the last 5 years, almost every single one of them had a massive flaw that they band-aided. Yep. Like even think about the great Dom 1 team with Ghost in the bot lane playing like Jhin over and over again. Yep. I know people always said, oh, it's because it's they facilitate his laners. It's like, no, he could have just won bot lane a bunch of times. He just wasn't able to do that, so he finds a way to be useful. I'm down for teams to band-aid their problems. My biggest issue is that their band-aid doesn't actually, they're not band-aiding towards what their strengths, their perceived strengths should be. If you have Szygenda, you should be trying to like force the carry top match because he does have an advantage over Odoamne. His advantage is that he lanes better. Like he is better around the minion wave. He's better at generating CS leads. And if you do that on the right champion, it can take over a game in top lane. My problem is that they just turned him into a bad version of Odo like way too quick. Like not even a bad version. He was okay. Like I don't think he was bad.
No, he wasn't terrible actually. He was. I will say he wasn't. I actually thought in terms of impact on the game, he was better when he got forced to have the band-aid champions. Quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he was useful in that way, but it just shows that like Koi is so set on playing one style that it's like I don't know how you believe in a team like that long term. It just seems like they're just going to be the same team forever, regardless of what happens. Like in the meta, even if carry tops come back, if farming junglers come back, Malrang's not going to change. He's not going to be suddenly farming and having items and all that stuff. Even in these games when he plays Wukong, he plays Wukong like he's playing Elise. Like he's playing like he doesn't need items. Where it's like that champion, bro, you need to be able to get a couple items because you scale so well, you become so strong in fights. Like if you are on 2-3 items in a team fight, that could be a win condition. But it seems like Koi is like, we are just playing like Malrang, he's just gonna gank all the time. Szygenda, like top lane, it doesn't matter if it's Szygenda. Top lane, you're just gonna weak side. Bot lane, you know, we'll play something that scales relatively well, and then Larson's just gonna do his thing in mid lane. That's it. That's what you get with Koi the entire time, no matter what.
Dude, what I can't handle is that is another narrative. But I'm sorry, guys. Like I said in the preamble, the problem with Koi is all the narratives are the same because they are essentially the most boring team in the LEC. They just do the same shit. They all play the same style. And there's actually even one thing I sort of appreciate about Freddy122. He clearly just has a vision of League of Legends. He just figures out a way to execute in every split, and it does work. Like, look, you might think it's cynical, but the formula works. Like, spoiler, Larson is very rarely going to be playing like the Silas or whatever, or some champion. And even if he is, he's Larson. He's not just going to be roaming 24/7. He's just going to CS people, and generally he's going to be on the mage and just be in a position where he can do the consistent damage in the team fight. So then it comes down to fucking comp getting fed, so he can be the main carry, and then you hope that the top laner fucking just tanks. That's all you do in this team. It's all they've ever done. So it's all fine. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's just it's limited. Because I agree on the Malrang one, by the way. The craziest thing about the Malrang one, I don't think people stress enough, is dude, he must have such a weird mind for how he thinks about items and builds, because I don't know about you, but I've always found the biggest problem with builds and items is everyone else is the opposite. We all greed for them. Like tons of people want to like have the finished item as soon as possible. It's why idiots, when they're low level, finish the boots too early when they're fucking ADC dom or whatever, like, and they don't have any other item. Like in their brain, it's just, your brain, it feels so satisfying to go from the separate items to the completed one. It's why even the ones where famously the last thing that you add is like not even that valuable, like the bandle glass or something, like, you know, you can actually get tricked on certain items. LS is right. There are some that aren't worth up upgrading at certain points. But most of us greed and try to upgrade the item because it feels so satisfying. Dude, Malrang must have the crazy... Here's what's mad. In every other area, he has no impulse control. But when it comes to items, he either has a perverse sense of items, Dom, where he's like the guy who actually likes like having a ruined orgasm or something like, yeah, just ruin it for me at the end. Oh, just don't even let me enjoy it. Fucking that. He's either like that, like some fucking, whoa, what's this kink you're into, Malrang? Or he's just like got the ultimate patience. You know, there's that famous experiment they say that they test on kids to see if you're going to have like potentially like drug problems in the future, is when you're a little kid, they go into a room with you. Already sounds dodgy. I've just realized when you say it like this. You go into a room with a little kid on the road. Exactly. And then you offer them a master. Now it sounds really sinister when I'm saying like that. But it seemed fine in the documentary, I know. But like,
Jesus, okay, all right. Yeah, no.
Okay.
I've actually heard about the same study, but you can continue.
No, exactly. It's actually a really famous one, believe it or not.
Yes. Kids with sweets, and then, you know, if they get into the van.
The way I'm describing it makes it sound bad, but actually it's just a legit study like Tom says. But the premise obviously goes, when you leave the room, because in theory they know you're not there, you tell them, like, if you don't eat the marshmallow, basically, when I come back, I'll give you another one. And the problem is, because we're talking about like little kids here, obviously most of them just eat the marshmallow, don't they, the second you leave the room or 2 seconds. Malrang must have the most god tier fucking, he must have just been sat there at the end like this with like a fucking pile of marshmallows, like, and at the end, are you ready? This is because he's Malrang. And at the end, Dom, he didn't eat any of them, just left.
Yep. He's the king of no fap. Like he's the guy that never fapped ever in his entire life. Like he was 14, he just stood there, just fucking glued both his hands to his chair. I won't fucking do it. Respect to Malrang for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the way that I see him is that he thinks that like all that type of stuff, like when he's putting himself behind or he's building these weird items, he actually just really cares about being a team player. He's obsessed with like what he can provide to the team. So if he's really behind, he's like, okay, I don't care if I'm super weak. I'll build the Morello, so at least I'll be able to provide healing reduction for the team. I'll build the Chainsword so I can give healing reduction to the team. I won't farm my camps because I want to be on the map so that my teammates can play like more aggressively. He just really has this obsession with being a team player to a fault, where if you actually wanted to make the game easier for your teammates, at some point they would rather have you just be stronger. Like if you just had more items as a Wukong and you farmed a little bit more, you'd be able to have way more effect in the game. It'd be way easier for your teammates to play. But he's obsessed with the idea of like, I'm going to be as best a team player as possible. I'm going to drop wards for my teammates. I'm going to be always on the map. I'm never going to be farming. I'm always going to have items that will be useful in his mind. Even if Chainsword is like not a great item for the game, he's always thinking, oh, but I'll have a little bit of healing reduction. So that will be something that will impact the game more than if I was like a little bit stronger. He has this weird like selfless mentality because he thinks that that's going to help his teammates more than him being strong.
By the way, actually, this would be an interesting point for a segue. Obviously, like I said, maybe we'll talk maybe later, like everyone's going to do the G2 against international comparison, right? But bearing in mind how this split went, there's a world where Koi could end up being the second team that goes to MSI, right? Here's the question I have, Dom. It didn't happen that much at Worlds, but do you actually think in this Koi, like I think a weaker version of Koi, don't you think Malrang will get abused when they go international?
I mean, I think he did last time, to be honest, to some degree. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the meta, right? And I mean, it's very rare that the meta is going to be like this is theoretically an even better meta for Malrang than the previous one, because essentially what most people are doing around the world is you do 3 camps and then you sit bot lane. That's it. You do 3 camps. Like your red side clear. It doesn't matter if you're actually red side of the map or blue side of the map. You clear your red side jungle and then you just walk bot lane and sit there for like a minute and a half. It's so stupid right now. And the fact that he's not even as effective in this meta makes me feel like they're gonna get fucked eventually, like when they start playing against people that are willing to farm. I mean, obviously Malrang played well, and he played well into Bo, but if we get into carry jungle meta and Malrang is consistently playing versus El Yoya, he's playing against Bo, he's playing against Yike, like all 3 of these junglers are really efficiency based. I just don't see how Malrang can compete if his lanes aren't just completely hulking out.
Yes. No, I'm with you on that one.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.